Hey, 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 welcome to Facebook Live Motivational Monday. This is your coach, Coach Mo. I'm here to talk about job interviews. What? And if you're not interviewing for a job or if you're not in the job market, stick around because everything I'm going to teach you, coach you, advise you, open your eyes and your heart to is going to apply to any time that you really need to be visible and show up for you. So a job interview is about that. And if your career isn't where you want it to be, if you're not earning the money, if you don't have the appreciation and recognition where you are currently working, you got to think about taking your life into your own hands. Because so many women we talk to on our free career clarity calls, the problem with their career, number one, is that they haven't taken ownership of their career. And if you think about it, the number one way you're going to make money in this world is by the jobs that you have. So your career is actually the best investment that you can possibly make. There is nowhere else where you're going to be able to craft a newer version of you and command 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, $80,000 more. Yep, those are the numbers that my clients have gotten over the years, job to job growth. And that's not to say the women who went from zero because they were unemployed when we started working together to commanding their six-figure income back again. So that's what I do. That's what I do. I help women up-level their careers and take charge of the biggest asset that can make them the biggest money over time. Think about it. If you're currently making $120,000 a year, but you could be making $150,000, but maybe no one has showed you how to make $150,000. If no one showed you how to get that level of job and career going for you, you're missing out on that $30,000. So if you're making $120,000 and could be making $150,000, you're effectively throwing $30,000 away this year, right now. Not to say the other years going forward. In 5 years, if you miss that opportunity for 5 years in a row, that's $30,000 times 5. Pretty easy math. That's $150,000 of income that you could be making that you aren't. And so many of the women we talk to, that's what's going on. Why? Because no one ever taught them or gave them permission to show up as the powerful version of who they are. So I got to tell you this. I have the solution, I have the answers, and I have a track record of getting women into higher paying jobs. Now, look, if you want to be an attorney and you don't have a law degree, I can't help you with that. If you want to be a doctor and don't have a medical degree, I can't help you with that. But if you're an engineer, an accountant, or any other type of profession, and you're not performing at the level that you know you could or you should, and maybe you're afraid of it because of all the myths and lies that you've been told. So maybe you're shunning yourself away from the highest level of performance that you can actually get for yourself. And I got to tell you this, it's a sin. You are sinning against your own value and your own power. And I got to say this, that's the biggest problem most people have in life, is that they're sinning against themselves by not stepping into their power. So often, some of the women that I speak to on our career clarity calls, and this is not to shame anyone, but check this out, ladies. If this is you, please find an opportunity to address this. They're not even alive on their LinkedIn profile. They're kind of dull and half the information. This is probably how you're showing up in your career. If you are not on top of things for how you show up in the world, it's probably how you're performing in your role. And we fix that. We fix all of that because of how we do our work. If you're not feeling happy and confident with who you are inside, if your soul has been dimmed down, pushed down, trampled on, punched in the face, If you've been bullied at work or have a toxic work environment, chances are your soul has shrunk down to such a small place that you don't even have the internal wellspring of energy to be yourself anymore. And probably, this is the thing that has to get fixed right away. If you're not feeling good inside of yourself, this is like having a disease. This is like having something worth going to the emergency room about. If your soul is dead inside, you've got a big problem. And you're never going to have the career or life that you want that's going to make you happy until you get into the soul and start building her back up from in there. She cannot be resuscitated from outside. She cannot be resuscitated with the new job or resume or the LinkedIn profile. But I'm going to tell you what, in diagnosing what's wrong with you, I'm just going to be blunt. If I look at your LinkedIn profile, I know exactly how you're showing up at work. There's a saying that not only me, but many of us in this inspirational world say, how you do anything is how you do everything. And it's the best kick in the ass that you can possibly remind yourself of. Because how you do anything is going to show up in everything you do. So that's why if I take a gander at your LinkedIn profile and it's a mess, I know how things are going inside. If I take a look at your LinkedIn profile and it's freaking awesome and you're totally rocking it and rolling it and you want to up level your career, I give you a couple of easy tweaks, a couple of easy life lessons, a couple of easy turn up the volume from inside, and you're off to the races. But many of the women we work with have had a life of decades of getting dimmed down. And actually, it starts at a pretty young age. So many young girls and women are brought up with not getting your own, sharing, making sure they're all happy before you are, make sure you're not greedy, make sure you're not too show-offy, make sure you're not too bossy. And what we do as young girls is we are told to live a life of don'ts. I happened to be sitting next to a father and his two sons yesterday. I was actually finishing a week-long conference I went to with other online coaches and the coaches I study under. And I was sitting out in the terrace of the beautiful hotel that we were in the San Diego area. And it was Sunday afternoon. And this gentleman was ordering hamburgers for his two sons who were coming to the table in a few minutes. And he was taking care of them. He was ordering them burgers without onions and making sure that the fries and that sort of thing. He was making sure that his sons were being taken care of and we're going to come to the table with a nice burger. Now, I'm not saying if he would have had daughters, he wouldn't have done that, but I'm just listening then to the conversation once the sons showed up. And this father was basically saying to his boys, you're going to have rough times like that. Here's what you do, and you need to show up differently this way, and you need to step into your power and do this. And it was after they finished, I nodded in acknowledgement that I'd kind of been overhearing a little bit. And I said, what sport do your sons play? He said soccer. They were at a big soccer tournament and it didn't quite go the way that they wanted. And I said, well, you were really helping them kind of sort through how to show up better without criticizing them. And I don't know, the way I was brought up, the way that girls are brought up, I kind of don't think the same conversation would have happened. I hope it will. I hope it does. But most of us who are in our 40s or 50s, whose careers are starting to feel icky, weren't raised that way. We were raised with all the don'ts. And unfortunately for some of us, the boys and men in our lives were raised with all the can do. And that creates a lot of disparity in the workplace. So over time, when we're 45 and 50 years old, even younger than that actually, 35, 40, we have a conditioning pattern that we don't feel good about ourselves and we don't feel that we're capable of things because things have not gone so well, perhaps in the last 5, 10, 15, sometimes 20 years. So you've got to be alive from inside in order to make this job interview thing work, in order to make your career come alive. So here's some things that I'm going to have you consider so that you can get on track with your job and with your job interviewing. And clearly, if you want to really get into this and really solve these problems, come on along and book your clarity call with us. because we solve these problems. If you haven't seen my webinar, you might want to go and watch that webinar. It's the 5 shifts to bring your soul to work to land your dream job. I go into more depth there, but today I'm focusing on the job interview and how you can show up actually on your job or in your job in order to claim a higher level of you and status and promise for yourself. So the first thing is that you have to have a new version of you. You cannot go on to a job interview as the historian. Natalie, you could book your free clarity call like tomorrow morning, and maybe we can get you a little juiced up. You have to be a newer version of you. If you come to an interview as a historian only, back then I did that, back then. If that is your approach in an interview, it's going to be a little boring. It's going to fall a little flat because people want to understand what you can deliver to them in the future. So you have to craft an identity of that version of you in the future, and you have to come from that place. If you are all about what I have done, and it sounds kind of like old news, yesterday's news, you're not going to be that interesting. So you have to craft a new version of you. What does that new version look like? And who are you in it? So once you craft that new version of you, you have to get clarity then on what you bring to the table. Okay, so now you've got this new version of you. Now, what do you bring to the table? What specifically can you bring that matches that job, those expectations, that job description? Make sure you match up what you've done and what you can do with what the job description is asking for. 99% of the job interviews you go on, there's a job description, okay? And most of the women that I work with are usually like, oh, I haven't done that and that and that, but they've done 80% of it, but they focus on the 20% that they haven't done. Don't do that. Focus on the things that you do know how to do and that you have done. Next, you have to be clear on who you are. What type of a leader, what type of a team member, what type of a collaborator are you in the workplace? The accountants and engineers I work with calls this the soft skills. And you know what? To tell you the truth, these are the things that matter more the further up you go up on your career ladder. The things about who you are. Are you an influencer? Do you know how to collaborate and facilitate? Do you know how to bring the best of other people forward so that they can be the best version of themselves? Do you show up adding value? You got to get really clear on who you are in order to communicate to the person on the other side who's making a decision basically about whether they like you. So here's the thing. While you're in the middle of an interview, or any conversation for that matter, you have to be having some emotional acuity so that you can be paying attention to what the people who you're talking to, how they're responding. And you have to be sensing what you need to do, how you need to be different, and what more information or sharing you need to have based on how they're going. This is super, super important. And you know what, women? We have a superpower on this because of the way that estrogen enhances certain parts of our brain. We have connection and communication centers in our brain that are heightened. So we're really good at this. But oftentimes when people come into an interview, they're focused on regurgitating who they are. And they're just, all of it is like information going out. Got a little scratch in my throat here, pardon me. So you have to be clear on who you are, and you have to be sensing what it is that they're wanting from you, and you have to have them basically fall in love with you, because people hire people they like, face it, okay? Now, there are some ideas about making sure that hiring managers hire people who aren't just like them, but they still want to be likable. So if you're not likable in your interview, you're not getting the job. If you're too braggadocious, if you're too rough around the edges, if you're too abrupt, they're not going to like you. You have to be someone who they will want to work with. I know it seems pretty common sense, but a lot of people that we work with, this is a big light bulb moment. Your interview is not just about what you bring to the table in skills and talents. It is about who you are. And if you're not likable, and if you're not getting rapport and getting things jiving with the people you're interviewing with, they're thinking, she's got the right degrees. She's got the right experience, but I don't want to be in a meeting with her. Are you kidding? So you have to add that to the table. And look, if you're not likable, it's because your soul is not lit up. It's because your soul is not bright and shiny. And if that's your biggest problem, which for many of the women we work with, it is, we got to get to work on that soul, sister. You've got to show up with a bright, shiny soul, because people want to hire people who are happy, who are full of energy. And I'm not talking about caffeinated energy. I'm talking about beautiful, soulful, shiny, I'm me and I'm comfortable with it type of energy. That's who people want in their organizations. Unless, of course, you want to go into a toxic environment where they want people who they can take advantage of. So if you're wimpy and timid and don't talk about what you can really deliver, they're going to think, oh, we can take advantage of you. We're going to hire her. Yeah, she's got good skills. We'll probably be able to pay her less. We'll probably be able to have her work more. We got this one. Oh, yeah. So many women I talk to on our free career clarity calls, this is what's been going on their entire career. They've been taken advantage of. They've been working hard because there was this lie out there one day that someone said to them, just work hard and they'll notice you and they'll promote you and they'll pay you more. It's a lie. Because the next two things I want you to do in that job interview or in that important conversation is I want you to be confident to ask what you want. You must ask. You must ask for the next interview, the next steps, the job offer. You must tell them that you're eager to work there and what the contributions are that you can provide to them that are valuable. You must step into the ask. Oh, I left the interview. I forgot to ask what the next steps were. Oh, do you think I can email them back? Well, of course you can, but doesn't that look kind of like who wants to hire someone who thinks about the most obvious thing like later on? Wah, wah. It's a deal killer. So you have to be prepared for the ask. When you go on an interview, you have to know the number of compensation that you want. You have to have that number. And I'm not going to give you all of my trade secrets here on this, but I'm going to give you a big one. You ready? Don't give them a range. Because when you give them a range, you're giving them the lower number. Read any book on negotiation and you'll get it. Okay? So here's the thing. You have to be prepared to ask for the next steps, ask for the job, tell them you want the job. And you have to have a compensation number. You have to be ready for that. More than likely, that conversation has happened on a phone interview or a screening with a recruiter. You better have your number. And you better feel good about it, because if your number changes as you get into the final offer stages, you're going to piss them off. Well, you told us 120 and now you're saying it's 150. What's going on? So make sure you have done your homework and make sure you totally know what your worth is. We do this in our workshop all day long, all week long, as we help our ladies get jobs. I'm so excited and happy to say that over the last 2 weeks, we've helped our women, our clients in our workshop, get over $500,000 in new jobs. What? Yes, that's true. And so here's the thing. That's not total compensation. That's additional on top of what they were already making. And in 3 of those cases, those women were not working. So it's new money for them. And it's not a backslide like it typically can be when you either quit, get fired, lose your job through an organizational change or whatever. We want to make sure that our clients are getting back in the game at the level or higher than where they came out. Because if you've been underplaying so long, chances are we can up-level you in that reentry. So if you've recently lost your job or quit, don't quit your job. But some people just can't help themselves. Emotional control, ladies. We have to make sure that we are in control of our emotions and our emotions are not in control of us. If your emotions are driving the train, you are on a dead end train. Do not live your life with your emotions running the show. You have got to be in charge of your emotions. I'm not saying don't have emotions. I'm all for having emotions. Look at me now. I've got emotions, but I'm channeling them in a proper way. If I was here on this Facebook Live with no emotions, you would tune out because it would be boring. So I have to have emotions. I can't be afraid of my emotions. I have to be channeling them and allowing my passion to come through. You have got to be in charge of your emotions. That means that you are owning your power. If you're afraid of your power, it's going to come across as an incongruency. They're going to feel, oh, we kind of like her, but something we don't really like. If you're not owning your power, they're going to pick up on that. They means anyone who you interview with or talk to. If you're not in congruency with who you are and what your power is, people will just kind of not really feel right around you. And here's the thing, the people who will feel right around you are the people who are going to take advantage of that. You don't want to be around those people. So you've got to own your power and own your truth. So I told you I was going to talk about 5 things that are important in your job interview. I think I've landed 7 or 8 wonderful, wonderful things for you to do and consider and make sure you pay attention to when you're interviewing or when you're having any conversation of any significance. You have to make sure that you're being the version of you that you are going after. You have to be sure that you are being clear on what you bring to the table. You have to be clear on who you are. You have to be clear on what the next steps are and asking for it. You have to be clear on the actual outcome of the money that you want. And you have to be really, 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 really comfortable with your power, with your emotional state. You have to be in control. Everyone wants to hire someone who can be a positive influence in their company. And all of those things I just laid out for you ensure that you're a powerful influence. I'm going to take a look at the chat right now. And if you're listening to this on my podcast or any other venue except for my Facebook Live, I may not be able to answer your questions. But if you're here Facebook Live with me today, go ahead and ask me a question in the chat. I'd be happy to take a few questions. Twain says, yep, Almi gave away so much of my material for free. Yeah, right. Debbie Grant, so good to see you. And Paul, I just got a call for an interview. That's freaking awesome. Debbie, glad that this conversation is helping you. Delighted to see that. If it's a perfect time for interview next week. All right, Veronica's got an interview coming up. Listen, ladies, I am here to help you up-level your careers. Look, I've been coached since the year 2000. So for 19 and a half years, I've had at least one coach through that entire time period. Right now, I think I have like 4 coaches. I was just with them this past week. And I'm still up-leveling myself. I'm still getting my consciousness and my soul vibration and my certainty of who I am and what my power is all about and what I'm here to do on this earth. I'm still getting that revved up and shined up to the next level. We're never done. And this is the biggest fallacy of personal and spiritual development. It's not a destination. It's an ongoing work of art. And that's what you are. You are an ongoing work of art. But here's the thing. The first few layers, you want to have a positive outcome. You want to step into something better and more for yourself. You want to have the physical benefits of the spiritual personal development. Because feeling good is nice, but if it doesn't have an outcome in the world that makes your life better, it's like not really there. Because just feeling good and having the same life doesn't quite equate. Because the only way you're going to have a better life if you become a better you. And that's what I am passionate about. And that is what I do with my clients. I help them become better versions of who they are. The only way they make more money, have more happiness, more centeredness, and more integration and coherence and congruency with who they are is by being a higher version of who they are. And I have all sorts of techniques and skills, a beautiful coaching staff. We know how to take care of souls and bring them back alive. And then we help you get results in the real world. Coming up soon, I'm going to be doing a whole series on how to land that job. I'm going to do a 5-part series. I've done a couple of 5-part series before, and we're going to launch into all the important parts of landing that dream job. And I'm going to give you a lot of coaching and all of the wonderful solutions that I have in my workshop and in my coaching. This is so much fun for me to do because I'm good at it. I had a great career myself, and I've helped 500 plus women through their career problems and up-leveling beautiful women and beautiful souls into a better career position with more money and feeling more recognition, appreciation, and power is one of the most awesome things on the planet. And you know what? You don't have to be an executive to work with me. We work with a lot of women who are in the 40 to 60, 50 to 80 zone. We work with 6-figure earners, and we work with some women who are at the director, vice president, and earning 200, 300 plus. So it doesn't really matter where you are in your career. If you're not happy with it and you need to up level and you haven't been able to do it on your own, we can help you more than likely. The reason why we have a free career clarity call is we can't help everyone. But we're going to make sure that we sort through and help you see with absolute clarity what's really going on in your career and what's really happening and what you have to do to change it. And we're going to get really clear with you on that. We speak to 2,000 or so women throughout the year, actually a little bit more than 2,000 throughout the year. And we only have several hundred come into our workshop in any given year. So this is your time to decide, are you going to keep doing things the way you've always done them and keep getting the result? Or are you going to dig in and claim for yourself the most powerful part of you, which is your soul, and integrate that into the beautiful work that you can do in the world and then soar and be so happy and so fulfilled and better paid? We do that in 12 weeks. I know it sounds almost impossible, right? But we do. And if you've been watching my work, you know that I interview my clients and we have really in-depth interviews with my clients. You can find some more of that at mofaul.com/blog. I just interviewed Christy and we had that on Saturday morning. Her story is awesome. And I know she's so happy and proud of herself. And you know what? She continues to grow and expand because that new job she got, it requires a higher version of her. So she has to keep up leveling. And that's the fun part. This isn't over. It is a continual unveiling of how awesome you are. And I know you're awesome in there. I know you're in there. Knock, knock, knock. I know that awesomeness is inside. I have a superpower of being able to find it and pull it forward. And so do all the coaches who are on my team. We love the work we're doing because we love seeing women shine at a level that they have never had before. And it is so wonderful. So what does Veronica have here? What's the best way to answer the question of what's your weakness? Heard not to use a positive for the weakness like perfectionism. Veronica, I don't know why you couldn't use that. Here's the thing. Who is telling you not to use that? Someone who is at a higher level of their career than you, or someone like your neighbor? I mean, maybe your neighbor's at a higher level in their career than you. Here's the thing. Every single one of our superpowers is also our kryptonite. So if your superpower is being a perfectionist, it's probably your kryptonite. But here's the thing. As you know, progress is more important than perfection. So probably what you'd want to say in an interview is something like this. When I get really nervous and, push comes to shove, my perfectionist gremlins come out, and I have found a way to control that and make sure that I'm performing and making progress and not letting that be in my way. But it is one of my weaknesses. Like, own it, but then talk about how you have gotten in control of it. When we talk about weaknesses, the people who are interviewing you don't want you to like be in victim mode. Oh, I have this weakness and I've never been able to control it and it's a problem. Like, that's not what they're looking for. They want to see your character. So they want you to own something that has been a problem and talk about how you have freaking nailed it and it's no longer a problem, but it can creep back up if gone unchecked. And since you're so awesome, you're on it. So own that answer that way. And that would be very, very helpful. Better career positions. Mo can help you no matter where you are. Thanks, Debbie. Yes, indeed. And Leslie, how are you doing? What's going on with you? Give me a little status update. I'd be loving to hear about it. And also hello to Joanne. How are you doing? And Joanne, you've had quite a career rise and quite a personal confidence rise since you and I first met on our clarity call. One of those ones I won't forget. Actually, to be honest with you, I remember quite a few of them. In particular, of course, the women who come into the workshop and I get to work with them side by side for 12 weeks. Oh, the phone's ringing. I hope it's for an interview. Hello, this is Coach Mo. Can I interview you? For those of you who know me, you know where I am, and I'm not quite in my own home and kind of borrowing a place for the time being. So the sound effects are life happening, and that's the way that goes. So I want you to commit to yourself something this week as a takeaway from what I just laid down as some of the best coaching you're going to get on job interviewing and on powerful conversations. So that plays into both. So why don't you post below a distinction, a takeaway, a commitment of what you're going to do this week to show up as the newer version of you, show up as a higher, more specific, vibrating version of you so that you can get what you want. And you can nail that outcome, whether it be a job interview or whether it be a powerful conversation or a project you're working on or own the room in a meeting that you have this week. If you are not where you want to be in your career, first, watch my webinar, mofaul.com/free training. If you have seen my webinar and you haven't booked your career clarity call, what are you waiting for? Time waits for no one, okay? Don't let the circumstances of your life control your life. So many people I talk to, this is what's going on. That life is coming at them like this and they're letting that control their life. Get in charge of yourself. Come on, get in charge of your life. You have one life to live. I'll tell you a little tearjerker here for a second. So I'm in a room with 160 coaches, online coaches from around the world, with these folks that we all study under. And one of the guys I've known for 4 years in this group, his 43-year-old wife died 6 weeks ago of cancer. That was actually quite a fast course of cancer. It was less than 6 months. And they were in the business together, an online coaching business together, and she died, unfortunately and unexpectedly, really. And this man is so full of love for his wife and has so much passion about the life that they had and the fact that they were living their dream. And thank goodness they have that. They had that. As she was dying, she was recording videos of gratitude. She was recording videos of inspiration for others to not let yourself die with what's inside of you still. Don't do that. We don't know how many days we have on this earth. And when I watch this beautiful man tearfully, but in gratitude, express for all of us to get on with our lives and take action, have the life that you want. Don't sit around any longer and have a less than life. Don't sit around any longer and complain about the circumstances of your life, and that's why you've not been able to have the life you want. That's insane. Take control of your life. It's only yours. It's not your kid's life. It's not your husband's. It's not your parents'. It's your life. Take control of it. Take charge. And don't spend one more day feeling bad about what they've done to you or what you can't do. No more. Make sure that you are living the life that you want to live and that you are taking action for you and you are being the strongest, highest version of you. And I know this to be true. I couldn't do it on my own either. I hired my first coach 19 years ago. And I would not do life without having a coach, someone who can see things differently, lift me up, see my greater identity, hold me accountable. I wouldn't do life like that. And you know what? I'm pretty freaking motivated. I was able to do a lot on my own. But there are some things that we can't do on our own. If you want to have an awesome life, you're probably going to need to have someone who professionally knows how to lift you. Not just your partner, not just a good friend that you have a glass of wine with every week. A professional who knows how to lift you up and put you in a position, a place, a vibrational zone where you've not been able to get on your own. It is imperative for you to have the life that you want to have. Now go out and, as Debbie Grant says, go out and be grateful for everything you have, but take control of the things that you aren't in control of, that you haven't gotten in control with. Get in charge. Get in that driver's seat. Go now in the driver's seat. If you'd like to talk about working with me and have us sort out your career, it's mofaul.com/FB. That way we know you came from a Facebook Live. mofaul.com/FB will get you to our schedule page. You'll book a career clarity call. We'll talk to you this week and we'll sort it out. If you'd like to work with us and we think you're a good fit and we can rock and roll, we'll talk about that. If not, you're going to have a great talk. You're going to get super clear and you're going to have the most valuable conversation you've ever had. Our career breakthrough strategists are trained by me to give you, the best download of what's really going on in your life. Only way to get better is to get real. All right. This has been a fabulous, fabulous discussion. Thanks everyone for showing up here. This is Mo Faul at mofaul.com. I am your kick-ass career coach. And you know what? I'm the only one who's going to teach you how to bring your soul to work so you can land your dream job and have your dream life. Make it real. Make a commitment based on this right now. Post it down below. Make a commitment, show up as the awesome version of you, and commit for something more. I love you. We'll see you next time.